The new year means new laws come into effect in this country, and that includes loan interest rates capped, more rights for gig workers, and new gun laws. So this morning, we're taking a look at the most impactful laws coming into effect in 2025. Joining us this morning on what to expect from the year in Canadian law is lawyer Anne-Marie Mediwake. Great to have you in this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so our first law that we need to look at, it took effect 2 days ago, so on January the 1st. The federal government has now set a maximum annual interest rate on almost all loans across the country. That rate is now capped at 35%. The cost of payday loans also limited. So walk us through these changes.
Certainly. So this is actually a reform to the criminal code and criminal laws and regulations. And it means that the maximum that a lender can charge for a personal loan is now reduced from 60% to 35%.
So is that 60%? Is that
it used to be 60%.
Used to be wow.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a big change. And then the payday loan as well?
Yeah, so the payday loans, now the maximum that can be charged in terms of interest for a payday loan is $14 for every $100 loaned.
Okay, so this is going to affect millions of Canadians who borrow this way.
Potentially. We don't know whether millions actually borrow this way.
Okay.
These are very rare loans. These are not bank loans. These are non-bank, non-prime loans. And these are usually classified as high-risk loans. So these are individuals who don't normally qualify for traditional loans. And the market for this is quite narrow.
It's quite narrow. Okay. So next up in July, the law around the rights of gig workers will change. So these are people who work in jobs like rideshare, delivery, courier services. What will we see change?
Correct. So what we're seeing is the implementation of the Digital Workers Protection Act. And what that does is it creates minimum standards for individuals who are working in the gig economy. So as you mentioned, through rideshare apps, through delivery systems, it creates a number of protections, including a minimum wage for each assignment. It also prohibits these platforms from withholding tips, and it also forces them to be more transparent and disclose how their fees are earned and transmitted back to the workers.
Okay, so that's set to change. The government, let's talk about gun laws, because the government, we know, has banned close to 2,000 firearms in total. Owners have been told, get rid of those weapons by October 30th. There are different avenues to do that. How will this work?
So currently these guns and new guns were added, new models were added to the list in December, but currently they are illegal. However, there is an amnesty order in effect, which means that those people who, at the time that these weapons were made illegal, lawfully possessed them, so bought them lawfully and had licenses to do so, those individuals have until October to bring themselves in alignment with this new law. So that means that they can either surrender their firearms to their local authorities, their local police, or they can go take it to a gunsmith and have the firearm deactivated, essentially, to make it non-effective as a weapon. And they have until October to do that. If once that expiry date comes into effect, then they will be in violation of the law, and it will be a crime for them to continue possessing these weapons.
I want to ask you about this because oftentimes, when a law comes into place, there is a grandfather clause that happens.
Yes.
That is not happening in this case. Is that unusual?
It's not unusual. I mean, the grandfathering in of provisions and laws usually take place as a discretion that the legislature puts in, usually when there's a question about fairness. Here, what the government has done instead is given a really long runway for people who have these weapons to get rid of them, because ultimately the government wants these to not be floating around in society, and that would be defeated if we allow all people who possess them currently to continue possessing them legally.
Anne-Marie, good to talk to you. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you so much, and have a wonderful 2025.
Yeah.
If you liked that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.